for this moment. So I'll introduce to you the next gentleman who is going to come up here and speak to all of us. The next candidate is a man who has sacrificed a lot, and even that is an understatement. He was a scholar, and he could have climbed through the ranks in civil service, and even in the commercial and privatized sector if he wanted to. But he chose to fight for all the social injustices that he has seen, he has witnessed firsthand. Here he is today, ladies and gentlemen, and it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Mr. Tan Ji Se. Mr. Tan.
Good evening, fellow Singaporeans and residents of Tanjong Pagar and Jurong GRC. Thank you very much for coming to our final rally. Do you have a good feeling that the day has finally arrived for you to do what you want with your vote? Do you feel the winds of change blowing into you? As we approach polling day, PAP is scaring you again. First, town councils. They think opposition cannot manage town councils, estates and accounts. But opposition parties have run town councils for more than 20 years in Potong Pasir and Hougang. Roads and pathways are clean. Bin centers are cleared regularly. Lifts are working. So there is no problem with estate management in opposition constituencies for more than 20 years. So what's the problem? It's accounting, they say. But who created the accounting problem? Remember the $2 company called AIM? They set booby traps all over the place. We learn. We will ensure proper accounting, proper handing over. We will scrutinize the accounts. We have the expertise. Our fellow candidate, Chirag Desai, is a specialist in risk management. He has a master's degree in financial engineering from a top US university and has worked in international banks in New York, Tokyo, and Singapore for more than 12 years. He will ensure that your money in town council is well protected with minimum risk involved. He will be helped by his teammates who have experience in managing large organizations. Dr. Ang managed community grassroots organizations, community centers, CDC before. So did Tan Peng An. He was on the town council in Fengshan. And he also worked in community centers and in CDC. Fahmi and Melvin have worked in MNC, so they also know what it is like to work in big organizations. I too ran big financial institutions. So we have a balanced and competent team for Tanjong Pagar that combines youth and experience, policy making and grassroots beginnings. This is the team that will take you forward and fight for your future. Give us a chance to serve you. You know me and Dr. Ang Yong Guan. We are not new to you. We have been around in Singapore politics for many years. Fahmi is also known in the Malay community. Chirac and Melvin may be new to you, but we have worked together with them for the last 1 year, and we are very impressed with their dedication and their passion for Singapore. So give us a chance to serve you. Try us out. If you vote for PAP, the PAP team, you are getting more of the same. Nothing original, nothing different. We are different, and we will make a difference to your life. The PAP team talks about the past as if it was they who gave you the past glory. They have lumped together 50 years as one past, but actually we have two pasts. The first 40 years and the last 10 years under the current PM. The first 40 years were okay, but beginning from 2004, when Lee Hsien Loong took over as Prime Minister, Singapore has been going down the drain. First casinos, then 1 million foreign workers who take away jobs and space of Singaporeans, break up our families and shatter our self-esteem. Under him, we have the first riot and labor strike in more than 40 years, frequent train breakdowns, and floods in Orchard Road. But most important, your overall well-being has worsened. When PM took over in 2004, there were 26% of Singaporeans living in poverty. But 10 years later, the number of poor Singaporeans rose to 30%. The middle class shrank from 53% to 47%. So less than half of Singaporeans are in the middle class. More than half Singaporeans do not have adequate CPF savings for retirement. This is partly due to poor returns on your CPF savings. GIST invested CPF savings and earned about 6% a year on the average for 20 years. But they gave you only 2.5%. They kept the 3.5%. This 3.5% is your money, amounting to $8.75 billion in the year 2014 alone. So you have been shortchanged. In addition, your retirement savings have been stretched by expensive housing and car loans. The COE has taken a big chunk away. Over a lifetime of a Singaporean probably needs to buy 4 or 5 COEs. If each costs 60,000, it means 240,000 to 300,000 taken away from your retirement savings. This is huge, as Tan Peng An has mentioned to you before. Singaporeans are unhappy. We are under great stress. Social tension is high. The fundamental cause is the massive influx of foreign workers. The rules of entry are too lax, especially for S and E passes. Even PhD doctorates come in under S passes, as they are prepared to accept lower salaries like $2,500 per month, when basic degree graduates are getting $3,000. So our PMETs lose out. Foreigners take away our jobs, space in housing, transport, and our priority place in schools, workplaces, and businesses. They even despise us, calling us losers and even dogs. And the government does nothing to protect our honor and dignity. Foreigners feel encouraged to behave this way, as our own government despises us. PAP also scares you that there might be no PAP government after this election. That's what Coburn once said. In 2011, the late Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said he was confident that Singapore's political system would be able to survive a handover of power. He said, and I quote, "If we, that is the PAP, are voted out, the system is still working." So why are current PAP ministers so afraid when the late LKY had already prepared for this eventuality of a change of power. Singaporeans should not be afraid. The civil service continues even after politicians have left the scene. There are a few ex-civil servants in our team. Tan Peng An, Commander, Director of MINDEF. Dr. An Yong Wan, MINDEF psychiatrist, 23 years. And myself. We all know how professional, neutral, and competent the civil service is. Just take my personal example. I had worked for several PAP ministers like Goh Chok Tong, Tony Tan, Richard Hu, and Lee Hsien Loong. But I have not been convinced to vote for any one of them, not any PAP. I have never voted for PAP, even though I was working for these PAP ministers. Yet, despite my differences in beliefs, I continue to implement and execute policies decided by them. And I got my promotions when my turn was due, sometimes even ahead of my own cohort. So I was professional as a civil servant. And I would say that the civil service ethos of professionalism and neutrality remains to this day. So fear not. The civil service will be there to serve you, even with a change of government. PM said this election is about choosing the next leadership team. What's new? He said this at every election. Is he really serious and effective? The fact that he has asked Goh Chok Tong to stay shows that leadership succession has failed. He has identified a few potential. Are they up to the mark? Do they have Singaporeans' interests first and foremost in their heart? Take Heng Swee Keat. Remember the mini bonds affair during the last financial crisis? When he was MD of MAS, while Hong Kong Monetary Authority pressured financial institutions to honor their products 100%. Singapore investors were very much left to fight on their own for return of their investment. As Education Minister, Heng Swee Keat does not favor citizens over foreigners, as PRs who are foreigners have equal priority as students in Primary 1 registration. Also, while the Ministry of Education collects about $1 billion a year in school and university fees from Singaporeans every year, it gives up around $400 million to foreigners on scholarships and free tuition grants every year. So our Singaporean university students end up with huge student loans, like 20 to 30,000. What about the others? Lawrence Wong fumbled as sports minister. The grass in the National Stadium did not grow in time for SEA Games. So he replaced it with artificial grass after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tan Chuan Jin is worse. As manpower minister, he is in charge of immigration and he has let in foreign workers very liberally, including foreigners with fake qualifications. And yes, don't forget, he presided over Singapore's first labor strike in 40 years. PM's confidence in Tan Chuan Jin is so low that he has to ask Goh Chok Tong, not Tan Chuan Jin, to lead the Marine Parade team. Even then, it might not help. They might lose Marine Parade. Then there is Chan Soon Seng. Did he help or ridicule the poor when he was Minister of Family and Community? This man refused to define the poverty index of Singapore because he doesn't want you to know that there are more than 30% poor Singaporeans. A very high proportion for a city that claims to be first world. In first world countries, fewer than 10% of people are poor, and the state gives them generous help, not ridicule. Chan Chun Sing said, we SingFirst are not aware of what NTUC has started programs to help PMETs. But he did it only a few months ago, when the problem of PMETs has been around for so many years. Is he sincere, or is he doing this because of this election? Then we have the new candidates. Are they any better? Or are they just yes men from the civil service and the military? Have earlier batches of generals shown they can run key agencies like SMRT and NOL? Will they help Singapore move forward, or will they lead Singapore further down the road of decline? Current PAP leaders talk about honoring the late Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and how he is so special to Tanjong Pagar. They are just opportunistic. They are making use of his name for their own selfish ends. In fact, they have no real respect for Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and have even betrayed his own ideals, Let me give you 3 examples. In 1979, LKY warned about having too many foreign workers. In 5 years, you will have 120,000. In 10 years, 250,000. Is it bearable? He went on. But I have a responsibility to you. In 10 years, can we digest so many? There will be cultural, linguistic, social, and political problems. Today, Singapore has 1.5 million foreign workers, 5 times more than Singapore can bear, and 1 million came in the last 10 years under PM Lee Hsien Loong. So his own son has betrayed the values and beliefs of the late Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Another value that Mr. Lee stood for is trust. In the past, trust in government was high, but this has fallen very low under the current PAP leadership. According to the Adamant Trust Barometer 2014, only 26% of Singaporeans trust their government leaders to tell the truth. In other words, the overwhelming majority of Singaporeans do not trust PAP leaders to tell the truth. Trust in PAP has hit rock bottom. Lastly, the principle of meritocracy. Meritocracy allows people to move ahead on the basis of their own capability and not on any connections. Singapore's prospered in the past because of this principle, but in 2014, The Economist, a reputable international news magazine, ranked Singapore's top 5 in the Global Cronyism Index, where politically connected businessmen are most likely to prosper. Singaporean comes 5th after Hong Kong, Russia, Malaysia, and Ukraine. Going by this ranking of cronyism, LKY's ideal of meritocracy has been betrayed under his son's own watch as PM. If Singaporeans vote out of gratitude to the father, they will end in servitude to the son. Vote for the father, but you get the son. Fellow Singaporeans, do you want 5 more years of the unhappiness and misery of the past 10 years under PAP? Or do you want to take back our country, our jobs, our space, our place, and our pride? Will you vote Singaporeans first to restore our nation? Yes, vote for change. Vote to restore our nation. Vote SingFirst. Thank you.
Thank you everybody. Our rally is coming to a close very soon. We have to follow and abide by the time. But before we end off, would you like to hear the SingFirst cheer again? I cannot hear you. Do you want to hear it again? Sorry. I'm so sorry. The time has run out. We can't do a SingFirst cheer. Okay? Thank you everybody for coming.